because it is a powerful reminder that when it comes to deep life transformation, there are serious limits to what we can control. And everything becomes possible when I first align myself with the will of God. In other words, when I start wanting what God wants. Or in other words, when I stop arguing with creation, with reality. But the good news is, and Easter is the story of the good news. The good news story, Easter is the story of the great afterwards. It's just the walking up to it that bites. It's like getting a tooth pulled, you know. Afterwards, it's going to be wonderful. And can I please have the afterwards wonderful without the experience of going to the dentist, please? No. Everything's possible. No. Maybe, but generally, no. I'm thinking of the reading that Reverend Kim gave from Eat, Pray, Love. There's so much about my fate that I cannot control. I know that's not tremendously metaphysical to say, but I think you and I have had that experience. And yet there are things within my jurisdiction that are for me to control. And maybe you are thinking of the famous prayer as you hear these words with me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and the courage to change the things I can and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. So why is the journey to the afterwards, to the resurrection, so difficult? I don't know why it's difficult for you, but for me it's difficult because sometimes I'm afraid of the unknown. And sometimes I fear that I will not survive the change. And sometimes I've just gotten attached to what's going on right now, and suffering is caused when I don't want to let go of it. I don't want to accept that change is happening. That's why. And you know, there's a part of the Easter story that is so amazing that relates to this. And it's this, that when Jesus did come back, some of his closest friends didn't recognize him. They even talked with him. They couldn't recognize him because, like the new flowers that appear in the spring, like these lilies, they are not the same lilies that appeared last spring, and yet they are the lilies of spring. He was not the same person. The previous had died away, and the new version was glorious to the point of not being recognizable. And I don't like that part of the story either. I don't like to hear that some part of me is going to go away. I just want to focus on the new glorious outcome. You know, I want to skip past that part that says, and there are things that will not be present and not be recognizable. I want total newness. I just don't want to change anything. As if I can control that, oh metaphysicians. As if I can make spring appear just the way it was last year. Cannot. You know what I think? I think part of the problem, if I can say that, part of the problem is that we have such terrifically beautiful, creative minds, and in us is this yearning for something new all of the time. And so this yearning in us repeatedly invokes change and transformation. And then suffering comes, but not wanting to go through the change and transformation that our yearning is invoking. And maybe it's because we have a sense of what is to come, that we might lose the very thing we cherish. In the interactive journal that is literally keeping us on the same page, if you've been reading along, today's entry says the only thing that remains constant is our Creator's insatiable desire to make all things new. I thought, oh, great. Was naturally made in the image and likeness of creation itself. That insatiable desire to make all things new is in you and me. Great. There it is, insatiable desire for newness, invoking transformation all the time, all the time, all the time. And so in us it appears as this vision of a peaceable kingdom, like the vision in Isaiah that sees a world in which the wolf shall lie down with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall graze together, and their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw just like the ox, while nursing children shall play safely near snakes, and young ones will be near crocodiles without fear, because they will not hurt or destroy each other in all of creation, because the earth will be full of the knowledge of my holiness, as sure as the water covers the ocean. We have that in us, that vision. Over here we call it the global heart vision. It's just another way of saying we see a world that works for everyone. Or in the words of the vision, we see a world that is free from homelessness, war, disenfranchisement, hunger, and separation. We see a world in which there is a generous sharing of resources and heart. We see a world in which forgiveness is the norm. We see a world in which borders are irrelevant. We see a world that has renewed its emphasis on beauty and nature and love through a resurgence of creativity and art and aesthetics. A world in which fellowship prospers and connects through spiritual living, and a world in which we live as one. My word, for that kind of vision to come into being, I'm guessing that something's going to have to die. Something cherished. And one way or the other, each one of us is activated by some kind of vision like that, whether it's a vision for our own life or for the whole entire world. And that's why the Easter story can be our story up close and personal. Because you and I can't have it how it is now and also how it will be in the great afterwards. For example, you and I cannot continue to use up all of the resources of the earth and dream about a world that works for everyone. You and I can't dream about a world that works for everyone and at the same time refuse to give up anything if it impinges upon our freedom and rights. We can't want honesty and right action and justice from world leaders and politicians, while at the same time we want to sit back and not do anything and not vote and have a little bit of dishonesty in our own business and relationships. It's not compatible. Something is going to have to die completely. It's like a whole way of life has to die. And how do you know it's dead? It doesn't have a pulse. And it doesn't get up again and live again. Instead, something you won't even recognize gets up from its place. Oh, we have creative minds. Imagining a glorious vision is not a problem.